During our trip together, be sure to remain seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck at all times for your safety. Little adventurers are welcome to ride on an adult's lap for a better view, though I will ask that you not recreate. Destination here is the Little Italy Forest, home to some very shy animals that tend to like to camouflage. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled and your voices low. We never know who we might find out here, and we certainly don't want to scare anyone away. As of right now, I'm not personally seeing a whole lot of movement. Call to evade when there's all these bushes and trees in the way. As opposed to if you were on a savanna, your main source of defense is going to be your speed and agility and able to like bob and weave and move around and avoid any danger. Those are saddle-billed storks. One that's kind of more out in the open is sitting down right now. She's got her legs at like a 90-degree angle beneath her, but when she's standing up to her full height, she's about 4 to 5 feet tall with a wingspan of about 9 feet wide. To communicate, it clatters its bill. Now out on our left side here, we do have some bongos, as these reddish antelopes with the horns on their heads. Bongos are nicknamed the ghosts of the forest because they're generally very shy and excellent at camouflage. So it's really lucky we're able to see them out in the open like this right now. Quite a few bongos around the area. You also might see some tan antelopes out there with no horns on their heads. The tan antelopes are greater kudu. I can tell these tan antelopes out here, these greater kudu are females. The surface of the water. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for any moving rocks, as those might actually be animals out there. Looks like out on our right side, there's a Nile Hippopotamus out there. You can see him with his head above water. It's very lucky to see the hippo with his head above water, because hippos can actually hold their breath for up to about 8 minutes at a time. They'll generally come up for a real quick breath there and go right back down beneath the surface of the water once again. Hippopotamus is a float of hippos, by the way. There's also all these big white birds that are nesting on the islands to our left and kind of out on the bank. Really big fat white ones. Those ones are the pink-backed pelicans. They get their name for the pink coloration that appears on their backs. Go figure, during the mating season. There's also like the skinny white birds, like those egrets. There's some ibises, mallards, black vultures, but all the other birds that aren't the pelicans are all Florida natives. So I don't know what they're doing here in Africa. It must have been a really long flight. They got some good endurance on those wings to make it all the way from Florida to Africa, clearly. Some more animals that do belong out here, though, are going to be the Nile Crocodiles. You might be able to see some of them off to our left side. Now, it is especially important to remain seated as we pass over this rickety bridge here. We do not want anyone falling out of the truck as they're passing over these Nile Crocodiles. They can grow up to about 16 feet in total, though some have been known to stretch upwards of 20 feet. Those guys are huge. You do not want to mess with a Nile crocodile. On the right side is a baobab tree, also nicknamed the upside down tree because those branches look so much like roots pointed the wrong way. Those branches only have leaves on them 3 out of the 12 months of the year. The other 9 months are completely barren, just like you saw there. That's helps the baobab tree retain as much water as possible in that big old trunk. And help those branches look so much like roots since there's no leaves on them. But now we are making our way out onto the savanna. That is a big, wide, flat, open plain where we often see quite a few different species of animals milling about the area. You might already be glimpsing some out there. I know I am. But we are going to talk about each species in detail as we come up towards them. Hartman's mountain zebras out here. We call a group of zebras like this a herd, a dazzle, or a zeal of zebras. Zeal is the current scientifically approved name for a group of them, but it used to be dazzle, so I kind of prefer dazzle. I think that's fun to say, dazzle of zebras. But if you want to be proper, a zeal of zebras. We can tell those zebras out there are black with white stripes as opposed to white with black stripes because they have black noses. That's the main difference, whether the nose is black as opposed to like a pink or gray color. Also, if you ever decided you wanted to shape a zebra, I don't know how you would manage to do that, but you would see that its skin has the same striped pattern on it. It's up on top of and around that den out there, also known as painted dogs. They go by African wild dog or painted dog, but not hyena. Those are not hyenas out there. We do call them painted dogs because of that gorgeous golden black individual. Sort of acts like an identifier. And this pack is composed entirely of brothers, by the way. Pretty cool. Looks like they're all working to defend their territory at the moment. Keep an eye out for any enemies that might be in the area. Reddish animals with the massive horns are Ankole cattle or Watusi cattle. They go by both of those names. While their horns might look very big and heavy, they're actually not all that heavy because they're not solid. Their horns are filled with a honeycomb structure with blood vessels running throughout them. And then beyond the Ankole cattle, beyond those termite mounds, you might see some brown antelopes with skinny, long, curved horns. Those are sable antelopes. Way out there on the hillside to our right, kind of out near that big old house on the hill. It's called a boma up there. But there's also But as we get a closer view of these wildebeest, you might notice that some of them out there almost look like they've got like a striping pattern going on. That's actually not a coat pattern, that's sweat. How gross is that? There's quite a few wildebeest in the area, which is not too surprising. Oftentimes wildebeest herds will number in the hundreds. That's 100 out here. I'm sure you've also noticed we got plenty of Maasai giraffes in the area as we're moving a little further forward. A fully grown Maasai giraffe is about 15 to 20 feet tall. When they're first born though, they're about 6 feet tall. You can see a little baby giraffe out there on our right side, quite a bit smaller than any of the other giraffes you'll see in the area. He is about 7 months old, so he's grown up a few feet since that initial 6-foot height range. If I had to place my best guess, I'd probably say he's probably about 9 or 10 feet, though I don't have a ruler on me at the moment to check for sure. When he is fully grown, though, he will reach that 15 to 20 foot height marker at only about 4 years of age. Maasai giraffes grow up really, really quickly because it is crucial to be able to reach those tasty leaves in the tops of the acacia trees. Also, the fully grown Maasai giraffe's legs, just the legs themselves, are about 6 feet long, and they give birth standing up, which means that when that little baby boy out there was first born, he had a 6-foot drop into the world. While it might sound pretty shocking, it's actually very good for the baby giraffe because it jumpstarts its heart and lungs and gets it up and moving in less than an hour after first being born. Now you can't tell these are all Maasai giraffes out here, by the way, because they've got kind of a jagged edge to their spot pattern, as opposed to their cousin, the reticulated giraffe, which has a much smoother edge to all their spots. That's the main difference, the easiest way to tell the difference between them. If you ever want to see the reticulated giraffe in person, you can actually find them on the savannah at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. Out ahead of us, they're going to be kind of not visible at just this moment in time, but as soon as we come around all those bushes and trees that are out on our right side, they will then come into view. So, out on our right side is right now. Now, since there's just 2 African elephants out here, I would guess that these are probably 2 male African elephants. Now, just a reminder, I do need you all to remain seated at all times, friends. Elephant herds are matriarchal, which means they're composed entirely of females, except for the baby boys. Once the males become about the age of a teenager, they will go off on their own, separated from the rest of the herd, and then only return to the herd during the mating season. So while they usually live fully independently as males, when they're still young, they might not quite know how to fend for themselves just yet. So they'll form a very small group of young males known as a bachelor herd, where they'll take care of each other until they're ready to live fully independently. On our way here, hard to say for sure. It all depends on their migration routes, whether anyone will be out and about in a visible spot for us or not. But I'm sure at the very least we'll be able to find some evidence of elephants passing through the area at some point here today. Of elephants passing through here. There's some tusk marks over to the right, as well as our way over towards them. I'm not too surprised the elephants are spending time up ahead here because they're spending time near a watering hole. Elephants love watering holes because not only are they a great place to cool off if the sun gets a little too hot for them or take a drink of water, but also the mud at the bottom of the watering holes acts like a sunscreen. They'll pick up that mud from the bottom of the watering holes using their trunks and toss that mud up onto their backs to protect their skin against the harmful UV rays of the sun. So we got plenty of African elephants around the area right there, all clustered together, all living in a herd. So these probably are all females that we're seeing out here together.
4.
There's flamingos right here. The flamingos. You might notice that a few of the flamingos out here, like in the water, are kind of gray in coloration, as opposed to that usual pink color that one might expect to see. The gray ones are the juveniles. They don't have their adult plumage yet. They still got their gray baby feathers. But that tasty brine shrimp is what gives them that iconic pink coloration. Flamingos, not because they're necessarily any better than any other species of flamingo, but simply because of tall birds. We got two of the world's largest birds out here. These are two ostriches. Ostriches are the largest species of birds in the world. These are both female ostriches, which we can tell because they have kind of a grayish coloration to their feathers, as opposed to the male ostrich, which would have a much more striking black coloration. We're at least temporarily holding for, there was another ostrich that was in the path. I heard that get called over the radio. But it looks like there's a little bit of movement happening here, so I guess that ostrich may have moved. They keep those eyes peeled, keeping most of their day at rest, conserving all the energy they can for when they need to move in a big burst of speed all at once. A cheetah, so those crazy G-forces you feel are actually the exact same experienced by the cheetah anytime they decide to run. Of course, they can only maintain that high speed for about the length of a football field, so he had better hope he catches his prey before he tires out shortly here. But there actually is a white rhino that's going to be eventually on the right side of the truck once we are pulling a little further forward. At least one white rhino. Usually there's some more members of the crash spending time together. That's what we call a group of them, is a crash of white rhinos. Yeah, there's quite a few of them out there on our right side. And then on our left, there's those animals that belong up on the copie. There are three. Although I will say, while you're looking at the crash of white rhinos, you may have noticed there is one a little smaller than the others. There's a baby boy out there just over a year old. And then on our left side, we got one male lion and two female lionesses. Just like cheetahs, lions spend a lot of their day at rest. In fact, about 16 to 20 hours of the day are spent resting, which honestly is the kind of life I want to live. That sounds wonderful. They're mostly nocturnal. They do their hunting at night. And it's the females who are the breadwinners of the family. The lionesses are the ones who go out hunting to bring back food for the rest of the pride. Well, it's Dad's job to stay behind, guard the territory, and watch the kids. So it does mean that here in this pride of lions, we do have two working moms and a stay-at-home dad. At least one of them's wandered over towards us. There's a few more out in the distance, including that baby boy. But you can tell these are white rhinos, not for the color white, because if you ask me, they look pretty gray. No, they get the name white rhino for a mistranslation of the Afrikaans word vite. Vite means wide, which describes the shape of their mouths. They have wide, flat mouths used for grazing, as opposed to their cousin, the black rhino, which has a pointed prehensile lip used for browsing or pulling leaves off of branches. Looks to me like the warden's been doing some beekeeping. See that weird yellow box just hanging in the center of the camp there? That yellow structure? That's a portion of a beehive fence. I think beehive fences are really interesting. They were actually partially developed by Disney. And beehive fences are used to keep elephants out of places where we might not want elephants to go. Property. Your crops will remain safe for harvest, and to top it all off, you can sell the honey. That's what I call a win-win-win. And that's called the Elephants and Bees Project, for anyone who may be wondering. I personally think it is a very cool initiative. Now, unfortunately, friends, we are now nearing the end of our safari together, though you all have been absolutely wonderful today. If you'd like to continue your safari on foot after this, I would recommend that you check out the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. It's going to be on your right side as you're exiting up the hill. But here in Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye because that is far too sad and far too final. So instead, we prefer to say Kwaherini, which means to go well.